724-465-4200 for more details. That's 724-465-4200. Ask about Dispill at Diamond Drugs, Philadelphia Street, Indiana, where we care about care.
June is National Dairy Month, where we celebrate all the good that dairy provides. Family dairy farms contribute significantly to the local economy, providing jobs and injecting capital to local businesses. They're also environmental stewards, recognizing the vital importance of conserving natural resources on their farms. This month, raise a glass of milk, enjoy a rich milkshake, or taste some yogurt, and salute the local dairy farms in our community. Presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
It's Indiana in the Morning. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. It is a Friday morning. It's gotten a little more cloudy since we started so beautifully today, but that's okay. Weather is always one of the topics we visit when we talk with Bob Pollock, and Bob is with us this morning from the Extension Service here in Indiana. Bob Pollock joins us. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm, Best of Indiana County Contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Penn State Extension has a very extended website with all kinds of interesting information on it. One of the things I note on there is a little article about weed killing around your house, spraying weed killers, and making sure that you only kill the weeds you want, whatever that vegetation might be. You can get the total ground clear type of things. You can get stuff that targets specific varieties of plants and leaves grass alone, as successful or as unsuccessful as that might be. But really, you have to pay attention to a number of factors when you're spraying that weed killer, and the wind is one of the biggest things, isn't it?
That's a big piece of the puzzle. That's right. Temperature can also factor into that.
Yeah.
The hotter and more humid it is, some of the materials that are labeled and have been labeled for decades for use on the lawn, for example, that 2,4-D component, 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid piece of the puzzle.
Show off.
Well, when you read the label, that's how it reads.
Yeah.
And then you look at it a little closer and you can see 2,4-D. But that material specifically, and it warns you on the label not to use it when it's too hot, because it will and can volatilize. So you have the finer that spray is. So you have let's say you have a pump up sprayer.
Yeah.
You pump that thing up so it has a lot of pressure. Well, when those droplets of water with that material in it come out of that sprayer nozzle, the more pressure, the finer those droplets are going to be. And the finer it is, the easier it is for those droplets to move and or evaporate. Drift is the word, off target. So keep in mind, and you don't have to over pump that. You don't have to get too much pressure. I know pump up sprayers, it seems like you pump it and then the next thing you know you have to pump it again, but that's the way they operate. So don't overdo that. And then now a lot of sprayers you get the nozzle that it comes with. And sometimes that's just a threaded piece on there so that you can get maybe more of a stream all the way up to a fine, more cone-like spray.
Like your hose.
Yeah. And so you can adjust that in most cases. If you really want to get sophisticated, you can purchase a different wand. You can actually get a wand that you can thread on there and also pick your nozzles. Usually for weed control, we like to have a flat fan type nozzle versus a cone nozzle. If we're doing insecticides and fungicides, then we like more of a cone spray to come out. So pay attention to that, and there's all kind of ways you want that
wand and that nozzle down close to the ground.
Yeah. Yes.
The higher you get it, the more likely the wind is going to take it.
Yes. More likely you're going to get it on something else when you're moving the wand around. And some sprayers have a short wand and others have a little longer piece so that you don't have to maybe bend over, crouch down to do it. You can stand upright and do that.
Now, if we're standing out in the garden and we are spraying a fungicide, maybe there's where we want it up higher so that it'll drift over all of the garden.
Yeah, we're trying to get coverage. Now, granted, when we're trying to kill weeds, we're trying to get coverage on the weeds. Most cases, we don't need to saturate the weed. We just need to
touch it up.
Just make good contact, enough to get droplets on there. It does not have to be completely wet. Even for insecticides and fungicides, we usually don't have to have a completely saturated wet surface. Just passing over that, and if you've operated a sprayer and you're driving in a machine and doing it, you're going a specific speed. You might be going 3.5 miles an hour. So that tractor and that sprayer are moving across the crop at 3.5 miles an hour. It's not standing there saturating the plants that they're trying to either protect or control. But it can be, if you've never done that before, you can't visualize the fact that, okay, when you're using that hand sprayer, you need to be moving. And even for weeds, start and walk and just keep going. You don't have to stop.
One thing about those weed killers is they are rated for a certain concentration to cover a certain square footage.
Yes.
And we might think that, I managed to spray this 1 gallon over this big area, but that's not really the recommended square footage for that gallon. And so we've diluted its effect by diluting it and spraying it over a wider area. And maybe it's like The Princess Bride with Billy Crystal. It's mostly dead. But what's so important, it actually is not all the way dead. And so those weeds might come back a little bit on you.
Yes, and so we can go back and retreat. Sometimes it's easier to come back and retreat than to overdo it the first time. But that's right. A lot of times it'll give you need a teaspoon or tablespoon, if it's a liquid material, in a gallon of water. Other times it will say, this 1 tablespoon will cover 100 square feet or 1,000 square feet. And some things are in acres. So
and we think that's a lot, but
it's really
10 by 10 is 100 square feet.
So, and sometimes we need to have dedicated measuring devices just for doing those jobs.
Yeah, you don't want to mix.
You don't use them for anything else. You do not mix. That's another thing that happens more often than it should. But we have one sprayer, and we use that for weeds and insecticides and fungicides, and we don't want to. Yeah. Weed control materials need to be kept separately, need to have their own sprayer, needs to be marked weed sprayer only. Many insecticides and fungicides can be mixed together, and oftentimes you're mixed together and sprayed together. Occasionally, there's some that need to be specific. So you could have 3 sprayers: one for insecticides, one for fungicides, one for weed control. Yeah. Just so you don't mess up. And then same thing with those measuring. If you have, whether it's a set of teaspoon, tablespoons, those just for weed control, and some things need to be measured sometimes in ounces. So just having a cup or a container that you can measure ounces in can be very helpful. To complicate things more, if you use any kind of wettable powders, those should not, unless it gives you a measuring device with the material, which some do, or it says a teaspoon of this product, meaning they've already weighed it. They already know that a specific weight. Most of the wettable powders need to be measured by weight, not volume. And in each one, between different materials, can have different weights, so it's not all consistent between products. So those kind of things, and usually a lot of times for the homeowner, home gardener, things are liquids, not wettable powders. But, and then the other thing that's common is granular materials, which you're going to use a spreader for. So that, and usually, they match that up with the type of spreader it is so that you can put the dial at the right place to get the right volume.
I have the feeling that we could spend a lot more time on this topic. And
we could.
Maybe we shall, but we're out of time today. Thank you,
that.
Bob.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.
Johnston Nursery Landscaping knows that your home or business property is one of your biggest investments in life. Like any big investment, it needs some thought, care, and good old TLC. At times, it becomes overwhelming keeping up with it all. Trust the gold-winning team at JNL to make your investment look great. Spring, summer, and fall yard cleanups, yard mowing, mulching, driveway seal coating, excavating services, and more. On Facebook at Johnston Nursery Landscaping, 724-422-0368. JNL, your expert in property management. Are you ready for the biggest, brightest, and most patriotic party of the year? Join the YMCA of Indiana County on July 4th from noon to 10 p.m. at Mack Park Fairgrounds for an Independence Day celebration like no other. It's the annual Star Spangled Celebration. This all-day family-friendly event has something for everyone. Food vendors, craft vendors, basket raffle, bounce houses, live music, a beer garden, and so much more. The day is topped off with the Colonial Toyota Fireworks Show at 9:45 p.m.